What's up, preppers? Back again with another video. This one is a list for what you should have in your car for emergencies, or at least what I have in my car for emergencies. Somebody asked me the question that if I have a list of things somewhere so they could have a checklist themselves, and I'm pretty sure I'd had a video and I looked through and there wasn't actually a video on this. There was a bit showing you the stuff in my car for get home and things like that, but not including a get home bag. These are the recommendations for kit to have in your car anyway, in case you break down, in case you're stranded or anything like that. So first off, the same with any prepping. If this is going to be the same as core prepping in your house, but just in smaller form in the car, and we're going to be looking at water and food. Now in my car, I've got a case of about 15, I think, in the case, 300ml bottles of water. The reason I've gone for that instead of one big bottle is so I can distribute them if I needed to. I could pass somebody a bottle of water. I'm not relying on having canteens and things like that. And they can be used and then replenished like that. I just think it's a lot easier with them smaller bottles. Food-wise, entirely your choice. I remember before I was like a full prepper, I had a couple of cans of soup and stuff like that in the car. If that's what you want, go for it. Now I have a 24-hour British military ration pack, or MREs, but it's up to you. It's really entirely up to you. Just remember, whatever you have in there, you have to prepare it. So either pack things like energy bars, cereal bars, snacked foods, high energy, high carb, low effort foods in there, or make sure you've got a way to cook them. I've got stuff that I have to cook because if I'm stranded in the cold, something warm is going to do me and anybody else in the car the world of good. So I've got, you might have seen it on my hike, but I'll put it up anyway. I've got this. This is a full set, and that's a little gas hob that goes on top of your gas canister. So you'd have to get a gas canister as well. And this is just a set that comes with a bit of everything, including the sponge to clean it, knife and fork, etc. This is everything you need to just cook on the go. They do a couple of bigger sets as well with different things. But yeah, this is all you need if you're going to prep hot meals while you're out. And like I say, you might think that's more hassle than it's worth, and you just want to throw in a load of energy bars, a load of cereal bars, things like that. So all personal choices. Everything with this is a personal choice. Nobody can tell you you've got it wrong. Nobody can tell you you've got it right, even though they'll try, you know, talking to you who's commenting right now. Next up, and one of the most important for me, is first aid. If you captured a previous video, I did first aid kits for one side of the family for them all have in the car. Because when we went away together, I had one in the car and it came in very handy because nobody else had anything and everyone commented on that. So I got them all a first aid kit for the car. Hopefully might start them on a little journey. When it comes to first aid kits in the car, it's entirely up to you how ready, how prepared you want to be. Is that just for yourself? Is that if you see an accident, are you the type of person that wants to provide help if you can? So I've put two up as examples. This small kit here, it's cheap, it's cheerful. It's the kind of thing I put together with a few extras for the family. And better quality scissors. But I put that together for the family in tactical bags, hoping they'd fill it up with more stuff. But personally, for me, mine's closer to this kind of size, which is a full evacuate first response backpack. So it's got literally everything in there, as well as what you see. You can easily fill it up as well. There's loads of room to add extras in there if you take certain medications. If you could be stuck for 2 or 3 days, do you need set medications? Good to have them backups in there. So you've got 2 levels of this with first aid, but it's definitely one thing I would not overlook. If you skimp on anything else, don't do it on this bit. More than likely, you may have already got stuff in your car, even if you've not spotted or found it yet. But have a look and have a look around. If not, couple of these triangles I'll pop up here. ideal to get. They fold down into the little cases, very slim. You can pop them in the side, you won't even know they're there. And they unfold and they go out, and they really do reflect very brightly with a headlight on them. And having two just means you can cordon off further down the road if it's a one-way, or you can cordon off both ways if it's a two-way road. So it's good to have more than one of these. Often in these emergency kits, you only get one, but there's a little pack of two there. Really worth having. So pick something like that up. And high vises. I've not put a link to any high vises or anything like that. You can pick them up anywhere. I pick mine up off car boot sales and stuff like that. You can pick up all this kind of bits like that. So make sure you've got a high vis vest for the number of passengers your car can take. Now, this is not just me saying that. This is also a legal requirement when you go to France. So I did it for driving abroad, but it's just good to have anyway. If you've got to get out of the car on the motorway and it's not like a SHTF situation, it's just you're waiting for the AA, you've got to get out, you've got to stand at the side. If it's starting to go dark or it is dark, having them high vis vests, really, really recommend. It should be legal in this country, but it's not. But I would do it anyway. A high vis vest for every seat in your car. Next up is blankets. Now, I've touched on blankets on many different occasions, and I've always talked about these removal blankets. And again, these could be used for that situation. They're not amazing. They're not really comfortable, but they are wool. They are thick. They are warm. Okay, that's all that matters. You're not going to be out of your clothes under this bare skin, so the comfort doesn't really matter. It's going over as an extra layer. You're going to keep your clothes on. However, that's not what I've got in the car. I've got one of these, which is a military style heavy wool camping blanket. Again, you can get ex-army surplus ones. If you've got a surplus store near you, go and grab one of them. Great. If they've got them for a good price, snap their hand off. Online, prices seem to have gone up and up and up. But I've just put the link to the one I got on here. So if that's for you, but some sort of keep warm is what you're after. Now, at one point, I was carrying a sleeping bag in the car, which is great if it's just me traveling. But even if you unzip it, it doesn't really fold out and spread out as much as I'd like it to. Whereas with a blanket, a couple of thick blankets, I can get the whole family under them if I need to. The next one you might not need, depending on your EDC and depending what else you carry. But rather than nothing, I would recommend this. This is the emergency glass hammer and seatbelt cutter. This is the AA one, but there's loads of different versions. To be honest, even a cheap version, there's not much that can go wrong with these. The blade's a tiny little blade. As long as that's sharp, that's all that really matters. The hammers are just solid piece of metal with a point. So you could overpay for one. You could get a cheap one from, Temu or whatever like that, and it'll probably do the job. The reason I've linked the AA one, because if it comes to a life-saving situation, I'd rather trust something AA tested than Temu. So that's your choice entirely. But yeah, some way to cut a seatbelt and break a window, whatever that may be. Often overlooked. Again, vital. I've got 3 or 4 around the house and one in each car as a fire extinguisher. Make sure you're getting the right kind of fire extinguisher. In the car, I've got a powder fire extinguisher for any sort of fuel fires and things like that. But a powder extinguisher is a great thing to have in the car. Now, if you're driving around in a camper truck and you're often having campfires, maybe you have a foam one as well or a water one as well. That's entirely up to you. But definitely one of these in the car. And mine just sits under that little bit of your seat, just under the seat there. Doesn't even get noticed, doesn't take up any space. It clips in so it doesn't fall out and roll around. And it's actually quite handy to grab if you needed to. Fire extinguisher, very important. Now, let's talk practical now. And we need to talk about tools, because it's all right breaking down and waiting for the RAC or the AA or green flag or whoever you happen to be with, if you're with anyone at all. But having tools on hand for a quick fix, something easy, something you can see yourself. Maybe you've hit a giant pothole and nothing seemed to go wrong, but when you turn the car off, you couldn't get it back on again. Your connection on your batteries just come off and you just need to put that on and tighten it up. It could be something as simple as that. What I would recommend, which I'm not going to link because I'd have to link every model going, is if you can get it, if you've got an older car, get yourself a Haynes manual for that car. I'm pretty sure there'll be an app for it now. I like to have a physical copy for obvious reasons, but a Haynes manual, some sort of instruction manual to that detail of your car, because you'd be amazed the amount of things you could do yourself. You'd be amazed how quickly you could fix something at the side of the road that you might have been sat there 5-6 hours waiting for the AA to turn up and do it in 2 minutes. So what I've linked here is just a very simple toolkit. Now, I'm the first person to say don't cheap out on your tools, all right? Get good stuff, get good tools, or really good tested tools. Halford's own tools are really good quality, to be fair, I've found. However, if this is just to go in the car and set and forget and only be used on a very rare occasion, something like this that's got a bit of everything in, it's got pretty much covers all of the areas for cheap that you can throw in there and forget about it, that you're not taking in and out on a regular basis, is ideal. Because if you've got one that you're taking in and out on a regular basis, 9 times out of 10, you'll have forgot to put it in when you do that journey. So cheap toolkit, or at least half decent toolkit, that's up to you how much you spend. A caveat to that is cable ties. Honestly, gear stick's not working, things drop, the ball socket joints dropped out, cable ties. Yeah, anything, cable ties are an absolute godsend with anything. Should be in your get home bag anyway. But what I have is I have a big pack of these, which are like heavy duty cable ties, plastic ones. But I also have these, which are metal cable ties. I don't have as many as these. I think I got a smaller pack at one point. This is much better value than what I got. I paid a fortune in Halfords for like a pack of 10. But these are great, especially if you're dealing with anything around the engine, anything anywhere that's going to get some heat. And bear in mind, this is not permanent fixes. This is just to get you to B. You've already set off from A. You're midway through. Something's gone wrong. If you can cable tie it together, if you can get it together just to get to B, going to save yourself a lot of time, a lot of money. And of course, no toolkit is complete without duct tape. What do I say about duct tape? Nothing to say about duct tape. If it doesn't need duct tape, it needs WD-40, one of the two. So next up is a map. So make sure you've got some sort of physical map. I've linked the A4 version of the A to Z. You can get an A5 version. I'm not a fan of that. It's a bit up close. Make sure if you are getting a small scale one, you have some sort of magnifier so you can see bits that you need to. But yeah, ring bound, solid. Put it into the little pocket at the back of one of your passenger seats that nobody ever uses anymore for anything. Stick it in there. Forget about it. It's always going to be there. Torches as well. With torches in the car, I recommend lots of smaller torches. So in my car, I've got 2 head torches and I've got 2 hand torches. One hand torch is in the glove box. One hand torch is in that pocket next to the map. And the head torches are in the boot. So there's something always in reach and there's some form of light there. And there's 4 different options with spare batteries. Now, lots of these AA guides and things like that will say jump cables. Make sure you've got a set of jump cables. I carried a set of jump cables for ages when I had my old Zafira. And the 2 times I broke down or the battery had gone flat and I needed a jump start, there was nobody else around. There was nobody stopping. Yes, you can call somebody and get them out there, but I was sick of relying on other people for this. So at first I looked at the big units that you carry. There's like a jump pack. And I was like, oh, that's a nightmare. But then I got linked through to this. Now this is, I'm going to show you this brand because this is the one I have. This is the one I actually have. I've tested, I've used. It's worked on multiple occasions on my old car and on the Mrs. Urban Prepper's, not Zafira, Mocha. It's worked on that a treat. It's also a battery bank, a decent capacity. It will do a couple of charges of the phone as well. But it comes in this kit. It comes in this little bag thing. It's got its own set of jump cables. It's like a power brick, as you can see. And you plug the jumper cables in, you put it on, turn it on, give it a second, and you start it, and it starts up, no problems. It's got a little boost button to give it that jolt, and it starts up. And I've used it 2 or 3 times and then had to need to recharge it. So you do want to keep on top of it and keep an eye on it like anything. Charge your power banks. Yeah, don't do a mic. Charge your power banks. But it is a great thing, and this is another one of those tools that's multi-purpose. If it's not for jump starting, you can emergency charge your phone to get a signal to ring somebody to help. Last but not least is a shovel. Always recommend a shovel. The original one I had was actually an ex-British military issue one, which is similar to this one. This is Dartmoor, but good, solid, not much can go wrong. It can be turned to be used as sort of a pick as well. And yeah, as long as you've got a bit of elbow grease about you, they're decent. Now, this has just changed for me recently as Mrs. Urban Prepper bought me a gift, which I have done a review on. I've just not edited and uploaded it yet, but I'm going to show it you now. And this is the Yantu camping and hiking shovel. Now, when I saw it, I was like, yeah, this is going to be some gimmicky, not very solid. I couldn't be more wrong. It screws all together and it feels absolutely solid. And you can use it at a short setting, medium, or a long, just by adding the extra tubes. The tubes are really good, solid, thick steel. You can get a really good lever on it and stuff like that. And it's got multi-tools, multi-purposes, and multi-things. And again, it goes down to that adage of one tool, many tasks. All right. So this was ideal. And, you know, it's also much handier than the small shovel if zombies are attacking or something like that. You know what I mean? So I'm not sure if I've missed anything else on there. There's all sorts people want to carry. Just remember, everything is personal. Think about where you're traveling to, how far it is, how far it would be to get home if you had to walk home, adding that get home bag if you need to. The potential of being stranded, how far are you away from any sort of help, whether you want to put 1 day or 5 days worth of food in, depends on how far you travel. So it's all going to be personal to you. There's no point putting the tools in if you're not confident enough to open that engine bay and tinker. There's no point putting the shovel in if you're not mobile enough to use a shovel. So everything is tailored to you and what you see fit. Some people like to carry a jerry can with some fuel in the back of the car. Personally, I don't think that's safe, so I don't do that. I don't do it now because it's electric, but I don't do it in the diesel that she's got either. There's a million other gadgets you can get for breakdowns, for being stranded. Some people would say consider some sort of tarp. I do have a tarp as part of my get home bag, not particularly in part of my car kit, because if I'm staying with my car, I don't really need the tarp. So again, all personal choice. I'm sure people will comment below what they add in or what they think I should add in. But often I've learned through doing and through mistakes. So hence the jump start box, because I was sick of stood there with cables on the road, looking longingly at traffic coming by, waiting for the goodwill of other people. So trial and error, hopefully less error. And this is a very basic list to get you started. Obviously, the only thing I've not touched on is weather conditions. Make sure you're prepping for the weather conditions as well. So if it's winter, you want your de-icer, maybe some rock salt if you're going to throw that under to get a grip to get out of a difficult situation. Hand warmers, possibly even an electric plug-in blanket for the little 12-volt plug-in one if it's winter. I think the wool blankets are good enough. Another one, instead of the rock salt, like the de-icer salt, you can actually use a little tub of non-clumping cat litter. Will do the same sort of job to get that grip if you need to. And of course, everything else should be in your car, spare tires, jacks, everything like that. So we're not going into every little detail. I'm assuming you've got the basics. I'm assuming you know to keep your fluids and all that stuff topped up. This is just the extra. That's it, guys. Thank you for tuning in, watching the video. Smash the like button, leave me a comment below, and I will see you all in the next one. Goodbye.